When it comes to photo composition, there are a lot of things to consider for making an amazing looking composition, so in this video I will go through a detailed explanation of what to do, and consider when creating an amazing looking photo composition, especially matching images. This video is intended for GIMP users, but it can also be useful for users of other software. The fundamentals are the same. But let's understand what to consider when matching two or more images. First, match luminosity levels. Then match saturation, but only if your images have increased saturation. Finally, match the color. But before we get to the tutorial, let's learn something about luminosity levels. First, let's understand what luminance levels are in a photo. Luminance is basically the values of blacks, whites, and midtones in an image. In simple terms, the darkest part of the image is black, and the brightest part of the image is white, and the gray parts are midtones. Now that you know what luminance is, let's understand how it can help you match images. There are many tools that let you change the luminance levels of an image. But we will be using levels since it is easier for beginners, but if you are already familiar with curves, then feel free to use that. But before we go to match luminosity levels, let's understand that color often gives us the wrong idea of luminosity levels, so let's disable the colors and only keep luminosity levels. After disabling the colors, your image will become black and white, and that's what an image looks like without color. To remove colors from your image non-destructively, you have to create a new layer, fill it with black, and then set the blend mode to LCH color. After that, your image will look black and white. That means you removed color temporarily from your image. Now you can see the luminosity levels of your image directly, so use the levels or curves to match the luminosity, but if this is first for you, then use the sample tool to sample dark points and bright points, and then if the bright point is higher than the target image, reduce the brightness, and if the dark point of the image is lower than the target image, lift up the dark points. So in levels, the left point controls the dark part of the image, the right point controls the bright part of the image, and the middle one controls the midtones. And the lower output controls the overall luminosity of the image, so moving the right controls will make your image's bright part dimmer, and moving the left controls will make your image's dark part brighter. You can check the luminosity levels in your image using the color picker. Simply by shift-clicking the part of the image that you want to check, and a small window will open on the side of your canvas and then change to HSV from RGB. Now you can see the luminosity levels in the V value. This means if part of the image is brighter, then it will give you a higher number, and if it is darker, then it will give you a lower number. So let's use this technique in real image. First we use the color picker method to see the black and white values of the subject and background images. Now we know that we have to lift up the black value and darken the white values. So let's use levels to lift the black values and darken the white values. Both can be done with left and right control points. But now let's understand how the atmosphere affects the luminosity of your images, especially their luminosity value. But why are we learning about the atmosphere? Because we live on a planet with an atmosphere, and understanding how the atmosphere works will help you when you are making environments or landscapes or want to give your composition depth. First, let's understand that as things go far away from you, they fade, and their luminance levels become much less prominent, meaning that their black values are starting to look much less black, and they also lose saturation, meaning that they seem to lose color as they go very far away. And another fact that can help you create a convincing environment is that the atmosphere is densest at the base of the surface, and as you go up in the sky, the atmosphere becomes thin, so you can also fade or make the black levels much less black at the base of the surface and slowly reduce the intensity in the upper portion of the environment, but it will depend on what kind of environment you are trying to achieve. This can be a little difficult to explain, because there are many ways to match colors. Some are more detailed, and some might only help you to match the general feel of your composition. We will be looking at the detailed method. But worry not, because I will be making this as simple as possible. To match the color, you can use curves, levels, and color balance. Curves give you extra controls as always, but levels can give you much less compared to curves, and the easiest to understand is color balance. So we will be using color balance to match the color, but you are free to use any other adjustments tools you are comfortable with. They all do the same thing. The only difference is how much control they provide. Color balance has 3 sliders and 3 select ranges. The 3 sliders represent 6 colors. On the right side of the slider you have red, green and blue, and on the left we have cyan, magenta, and yellow. And 3 select ranges represent 3 areas where color adjustment will happen, and these 3 are shadows, midtone, and highlights. All 3 are luminosity levels of the image that the slider will affect, meaning that if you adjust the top slider in the shadow range, then it will either increase red or cyan in the darkest part of the image. And if you do the same with any slider, it will work according to its name, meaning if you change any color slider in highlights, then it will affect color in the brightest area of the image, and doing the same with midtones will be the same in the midtones part of the image. So let's use color balance to match the color of our images. Like how colors distract in changing luminance value, luminance value can also distract in the color matching process, but it will only distract you when you are new to color matching, so let's disable luminance value and only enable colors, so it can make it easy to match color. To only enable colors, create a new layer, fill it with gray, and set the blending mode to luminance. Now it will only show you the colors of your image. So now let's use color balance. As I said, the name explains what it does, so use the slider to match the color. Sometimes matching only midtones can make it look good, but it's always better to adjust in all 3 color ranges. Adjust based on color where your subject is positioned. In this image we have orange in highlights and midtones, and also in some parts of the shadows, so I will be adjusting the slider to make it blend. Don't forget to switch off the color check layer because we often increase our slider too much. It can give you a clear indication of whether you have increased your slider too much or not. If you have, then decrease that slider, or you can reduce the opacity in the color balance adjustment. Also change your blending option to LCH color, because color balance often affects your luminosity a little bit, so this blending mode can help you with that issue. You can now add a shadow to your subject to make it more appropriate for its surroundings.